Good morning, everyone. After understanding all the dimensions of business environment, in this video, we'll be learning about new industrial policy. So let's focus what was the new industrial policy, when did it came, and what were the reasons for implementation of new industrial policy or new economic policy. Let's begin.
New Industrial Policy. The new industrial policy adopted in India brought about liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Let's talk about these concepts one by one. Liberalization, a popular term these days, refers to economic reforms aimed at liberalizing Indian business and industry from all unnecessary controls and restrictions. Liberalization resulted in abolition of licensing system, gave freedom to decide the scale of business activities and prices of goods and services, brought about reduction in tax rates, simplification of import and export procedures, and allowed free movement of goods and services. Privatization can be defined as economic reforms aimed at providing greater role to the private sector on one hand and a reduced role of the public sector on the other. It has helped in redefining the role of public sector in the economy, brought about planned disinvestment of the public sector undertakings, and referred the loss-making and sick PSUs to the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction (BIFR) for their turnaround. Globalization is the integration of the various economies of the world, leading towards the emergence of global economy. This has resulted in liberalization of imports, promotion of exports through rationalization of the tariff structure, and brought about reforms with relating to foreign exchange management.
So this was new industrial policy. Let's elaborate. In 1991, India faced serious economic crisis which made the government announce new economic reforms. Country's economy was on the verge of being a defaulter on international financial obligations which made it necessary to take policy action. Previously, that is from the year 1951 to 1990, we were following old economic policy, and that policy was related to licensing, quotas and permission. Maximum areas, that is maximum undertakings of our nation, was handed over completely to the public sector enterprises. Now these public sector enterprises, they started developing as monopolies, and moreover they were not working properly. For making the payments, we had to depend on foreign land, and we had to take lots of loans, and we were caught in a debt trap. Till 1991, the situation became adverse, and we were forced to adopt new economic policy. That is why this is known as New Industrial Policy or New Economic Policy 1991. The factors which led to the announcement of new industrial policy were fall in national income, that is fall in gross national product, from 10.4% to 1.4%. Now see, this extent of downfall of national income, that was very high. Increase in international debt. We were caught in a debt trap because we had to borrow from foreign land. Fall in the value of rupee. Fiscal deficit reached 6.6% of national income, that is GDP. Now what is this fiscal deficit? This is the difference between the income and the expenditures. So whatever we imported, that expenditure, whatever payments we made for importing of the product, that was far beyond what we exported abroad. So this deficit, it expanded itself to a greater extent, and it reached to 6.6% of our national income. Soaring inflation rates, prices were going on increasing, decline in exports and imports. So these were the factors which which forced our country to adopt new economic policy or new industrial policy 1991. This decision was taken by the then finance minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, because he was left with no choice but to change the policies from licenses, quotas and permissions to liberalization, privatization and globalization. Some of the features of new industrial policy 1991, they were reduction in the number of industries under compulsory licensing from 18 to 6. As I told you, licensing had to be removed. We were following the policy of licensing, quotas and permission. Now we had to change the policy. So few industries which were under the compulsory licensing, there were 18 such industries, and now this number had reduced to 6. Disinvestment in many public sector undertakings. Disinvestment means a part of public sector undertakings is either sold to private sector enterprises, or it is completely sold. Either a part of it is sold, that is disinvestment, or it is completely sold to private sector for privatization. And third is de-reservation of public sector, restricting to 4 industries of strategic importance. So public sector was to be reduced and private sector was to be expanded. Also, encouragement to foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment was encouraged, was given more importance, because in our old economic policy this was discouraged. We were not following globalization. We wanted to discourage our economy from investing abroad and to encourage the people investing in our nation. Now this had to be changed. So encouragement was given to FDI, that is foreign direct investment. Automatic permission for technology agreements with foreign companies and establishment of foreign investment promotion board to liberalize foreign investment. So we had to change our policies completely from licensing, quotas and permission, and we had to open our economy through liberalization, privatization and globalization. This new industrial policy measures taken for implementation, it has 3 most important features. Liberalization, which means easing the rules, freeing the Indian industries from hassles of licensing system, that is liberalization. Second feature is privatization, which means reducing the role of public sector enterprises, either by completely converting the public sector enterprises to private sector, or by selling them partially, selling the shares of public sector enterprises to private sector through disinvestment. And third feature was globalization, which means encouraging the private participation in India's industrial development that is related to foreign land. So we were encouraging globalization, privatization and liberalization. This policy is also called the policy of LPG. Liberalization refers to, liberalization means easing the rules. The word itself speaks. It refers to such economic reforms which aim at liberalizing Indian business and industry from unnecessary controls and restrictions. Privatization refers to such economic reforms which aim at providing a greater role to private sector instead of public sector in the nation building process and reduced role of public sector. And globalization refers to integrating of the various economies of the world, leading to emergence of cohesive global economy. Globalization is truly implied when free flow of goods and services across nations take place, free flow of capital across nations take place, free flow of information and technology, free movement of people across borders, a global governance perspective, a common acceptable mechanism for settlement of disputes. So this way we come to know that in the year 1991, we were in very deplorable condition, in such a condition that we were in a debt trap. We had to make lots of payments to the foreign lands. We were in such a condition that we had to adopt new economic policy, new industrial policy, and we shifted our policies from LQP, that is licensing, quotas, and permissions, to LPG, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Now, what was the effect of adopting these policies on business and industry? That we'll continue in the next video. Thank you all.